Welcome to the Life Jacket Podcast, where we talk about topics to help you get through the waves of life. I'm Bless.
And I'm AJ.
And before we start the episode, we always start with our win of the weeks. So for myself, my win of the week is I got to be able to collab with a fitness app. And so, they want me to post a few reels and, get paid for this. So it's a really good opportunity because, fitness is one of the things I do pride myself in. How about you, AJ?
For me, I'm in the third round of an interview, job interview. It's 5 total rounds. For those that have been laid off or been through the job interview process, you get it. So that's a win. Hoping to secure this job. Just been going through the process trying to find a new job. So prayers up, something works out. So that's my win of the week.
That's good. So we do have a guest today. His name is Jason Enrique, and we're very excited, happy to have him here. He's from New Jersey, lives in New Jersey currently, and we're just going to let him introduce himself and tell us a little about him.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jason Enrique. I'm the co-host of the First Class, Second Place podcast. I'm also a voice actor, an actor, and just a mental health advocate all around. And thank you guys for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like you said, you're an actor.
Yeah.
Give a little bit of information in regards to how that went, and as well as your voiceovers.
Yeah, sure. So ever since I was a kid, and I've told this story plenty of times on my platform and other people's platforms, where I saw the movie Die Hard with a Vengeance, aka Die Hard 3. And long story short, I thought Bruce Willis was the coolest guy in the world. Yeah. And I wanted to be that guy. And I've also found out later he was from Jersey, so even bigger. But there was just something about the movie making process. And I saw the behind the scenes featurette of that movie. And I was like, feels like something that I really want to be a part of, because I'm a huge movie buff. I watch a lot of TV and this, that, and the third. And that was one thing that I can remember at a very early age that I gravitated to. But at the same time, I was also dealing with my own anxiety and insecurities and just the trials and tribulations of a kid growing up and this, that, and the third. So I never really pursued it at all, really. Maybe I took like a drama class in school or whatever, but it didn't work out. And then afterwards, I just kind of said goodbye to it. And as I grew older and wiser, I started to learn two things. One, it's never too late to try something new. And two, you're much different than what you were years ago. You've grown and you've grown wiser and you matured. And if it's really sticking at the back of your head that you really want to pursue this, what's really stopping you? And the only thing that was really stopping me is myself. So I just said, screw it. I just went forward, and I was able to do first a TV show on YouTube called Nights with a K. It's like I call it like the Elizabeth, New Jersey version of Vampire Diaries. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because at first I just wanted to do voice acting, not acting. Mm-hmm. But I figured, you know what, it's a foot in the door. Let me try it out. And then I grew to love it, and I'm still doing the voiceover thing. I got a little bit of some cartoons, some hood cartoons that they got coming out on YouTube that should be out pretty soon. But the acting bug really got me. And I'm also glad that it took this long to have this approach, because I think when I was younger, I wanted to do maybe for fame and fortune, but now I actually appreciate the art and the craft of it, and I can give a damn less if I could become like a celebrity or not. I've just found something that I found that's really right up my alley, and I love the artistic integrity behind it, and I love the idea of being able to lose yourself in a character. And if I could be even like just a character actor for the rest of my career, I'm totally fine with that, because it's still steady work and you're doing something that you absolutely love. And me being a mental health advocate, as I mentioned before, it's little things like this, whether it's acting, voice acting, podcasting, whatever the case may be. I just want to be an example for people that if anybody like me can do it, then anybody else could, because there's no excuse. If a guy like me can do it, then anybody else can.
Absolutely. And so in the Life Jacket, we talk about ways of life, and you mentioned the mental health advocate. Was there, a time in your life or something that kind of got you to a point to where you ended up wanting to be a mental health advocate, or is just an automatic desire?
I think it's a little bit of both. I have told the story a little bit before, but not in its entirety, because I actually want to save that for my episode that should be coming out soon. But in 2018, I had a suicide attempt, and thank God it didn't happen. It didn't go through. And then that was really the jump off point where I just started to figure out podcasting, and I started to do that as a medium. And one thing that I was not expecting was to be was to be very open and honest and vulnerable. And it got to the point where people were listening and watching, and they couldn't believe that somebody like me would be just so open and honest about everything that I've talked about. I've talked about my embarrassments, my insecurity, my suicide attempt, this, that, and the third. And I think that has really inspired people to really listen more and check this guy out. You got to check this guy out. He's really raw, honest, and everything. Because I let it all out on the table. I don't care how it makes me look good or bad or whatever. If it's the truth, I'm going to say it. And with that being said, and also being a Hispanic, a Latino American, which there's a little bit of a stigma, especially in the minority of our society, that we don't talk about these things. And seeing somebody of my ilk, quote unquote, that is able to talk about these kind of things, it kind of open people's eyes and ears. And now the label kind of stuck to me, and I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly.
Absolutely.
Well, first, want to commend your vulnerability, letting us know about that. I think just as minority men, when they talk, it's hard to be vulnerable. I've been there. It took me years. I had to go to therapy before I wanted to be vulnerable, open. So totally understand your perspective. Just to follow up on that. So when you were going through your suicide attempt and then it stopped, when you didn't do it, like, what were you thinking? And then how did you proceed after that to be like, okay, like, I really want to change my life and flip it around a little bit?
At first, it felt almost like, Jesus, I can't even do this right. But then afterwards, I was like, after I calmed down and I cooled off, I figured, well, maybe there's a bigger meaning as to why it didn't happen, because it sounds cliche, but people always say things happen for a reason. And I feel like if it didn't happen, then it wasn't meant to, and I was meant for something greater. And I didn't know what it was. But that was the beginning of the journey. Okay, like, what is the reason for why this, what do I have to do now? Because I'm actually at a crossroads. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And ultimately, I just decided to just blindly go into whatever direction I was there. I wasn't thinking about the future anymore. I wasn't thinking about the past. I was just letting the sailing just take me wherever it was. Like, whatever waters I was on, ironically, they would just send me in whatever direction it is, and then afterwards, I just go from there. I think a lot of overthinking was kind of stopping me, and once I just kind of let loose, let whatever was in my control happen, then that's when things started to open up for me.
That's good.
I think just as a follow-up question, so
Yeah.
What did you believe about mental health before you fully understood what it was, the impact? Like, mental health is like a really big topic now. People talk about mental health, but like, before you really dove and understood, like, what did you think about it when people talked about, hey, like, I go to therapy, or hey, I have anxiety? Like,
That's a great question, because I actually was part of that stigma, especially in my 20s, where, like, oh, you go to therapy, you go to shrink, what are you, a psycho? Like, you got problems, you got issues, this, that, and the thing. Like, it was almost like a negative stigma, and I didn't want to be in that realm, so to speak. And also because of the family that I grew up in, the family dynamic, that would, like, they were pretty much strictly against that, or it was just like a lot of gaslighting and other stuff that came along with it. And I just felt like that was just par for the course. But once I started to finally think for myself, as opposed to what others should think for me, and anything of that nature, I think that's when things really started to open up, and I saw a whole new different world. And it took a long time and a lot of work, but that was the real first sign of optimism as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think it's interesting from a minority perspective, especially being males. Like, when you talk about, like you said, going to therapy, people years ago would look at you like, why are you going to therapy?
Mhm.
What's wrong with you? Be a man. But like, for me, I'm glad I go now. Like, I explained to my ex-girlfriend was the one who was like, she was a therapist, and she was like, you need to go to therapy. At first, I'm like, I'm not going to therapy. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. And then when she broke it down, I was like, oh yeah, no, I need to go to therapy. And it's been life-changing. And I just think there's a real stigma around minority men going to therapy and seeking help. And one of my friends actually said something about, for men, when it comes to mental health, it's usually until you get angry, then they feel like something's, oh, what's wrong? But it's been built up anger over the years. And then people are finally like, now you need to go to therapy. It's like, well, I've low-key needed to go, but it's hard to be vulnerable in this society we live in. And then it takes until for a man to blow up, and it's like, oh, now you need help. What's wrong? You're crazy. So no, I agree with you in regards to just, there's a stigma that, thankfully, our podcast and men like us, we're trying to erase that stigma and, you know, just have better mental health for men, just especially minority men, just moving forward.
Absolutely.
So I know you kind of like briefly discussed a little bit about like the suicide. What do you think people that may be watching this that might have that, you know, type of intent, what do you think they can do or lean on to not even go down that road?
That's a very good question because due to the fact that it's unfortunately happening way too often these days, um, it's kind of hard. It's kind of easier said than done because we've all heard the cliches. We've heard, you know, you got you have all this, your work, your worth is up there, this, that, and the third. Like, but you know, actions are always going to speak louder than words. And at the end of the day, it's all up to the person who is feeling these feelings. So as a person that has actually gone through this experience and knows what it's like, I would say just take a moment and slow down because I think what was really causing me to go down that route was the fast paced, the overthinking, focusing too much on the negative instead of the positives. And also just gravitating to negativity. Because one thing I think that people don't realize, but well, they realize, but they don't talk about enough is that it's much more easier to navigate towards the negativity for some reason. And the positive side is a lot more work and people just don't want to do the work, especially now since we live in a microwave society where we want instant gratification and instant this and that. And I think that makes it a little bit tougher, but I just think that if I have to give some kind of answer to anybody that's out there that's feeling this way, just know that you are not alone. I, among several others, have been down this road before, and just making sure that you just take time to breathe, slow down, try to think about what would be not so great if you weren't here anymore, and look at all the things that you have to live for instead of the things that you wish that you could live for.
That's good.
And I think even to go on top what he said, there was a very key thing you said that I think you could reword like being positive, like takes more work. I even look at that when it comes to content, like making positive content is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. The instant gratification takes years. It's not going to pop right away compared to negative content. It goes viral, pops right away. And so that's something Akino I said, like anytime you're trying to work on yourself or be positive, it takes a lot of groundwork. You really gotta, you know, just, I think one, have a good support system. Like I said, like for me, like just, you know, even when I talked about when I want to go to therapy, just having a good support system, having supportive friends, having supportive family, which is hard to come by because a lot of people really don't support you like you think they do. But you were gonna say something,
right? And you know, to piggyback off of what you were saying, there, when I brought this attention to several people that were close in my life, there were a number of people that was very supportive, and then there was another side that was very angry and also kind of very disappointed. And they actually would chastise for it. Like I've actually had a family member basically make it worse on me with words, saying how they're disappointed in me. Like I don't want to talk to you right now, this, that, and there, because I can't believe you have those thoughts. But long story short, I say all that to say this is that in order to find the people that are part of your support system, make sure that the right ones are there instead of the ones that aren't supposed to be.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes it takes those dark moments to really realize like who your real family, your friends are. Because like you said, like people, and it's so interesting. People are just so interesting to me. I'm a firm believer. Like I watch what you say to people. Like words hit hard. People don't realize like they're just rambling on, but it's like, do you realize what you just said? Like, does that even like make sense? And it's worse like when they won't even come back and apologize for it. That they're really like they mean they really were serious what they said. So, you know, just commend you, of course, for, you know, just staying down the right path. And you just can't take it personal, especially when it's blood, it's family, when you're really trying to work on yourself and you're really not getting, you know, that support that you need, because it can make it worse. So I think like one thing you said, just find that support system, finding just, I think supportive men too, who are going through those traumas, who are going through the anxiety, depression, and just having those conversations, support groups, even events, podcasts, to be like, no, like, it's okay. I've been through this too. Here are some tips. And, you know, this is how we can grow.
And once again, to piggyback off of that, for people that want to be supportive and apologize for whatever they may have said or done, also take that in consideration, because I know you get so lost in what moment you're going through right now that it's very easy to get to, not listen or accept people's apologies or pleas or whatever the case may be, because I understand you're going through it. I've been through it. I know anybody else has been through it, but just keep in mind there that look out for people that are really genuinely there for you, as opposed to who you just want in your circle for other reasons that may or may not be to the benefit of you and your well-being.
Absolutely. And then, so kind of switching up a little bit in regards to your podcast.
Yeah.
How's that journey been going for you?
So yeah, I've been doing the podcast for about 4.5 years, almost 5. It's called First Class Second Place, and I also have some other podcasts in the works as well. I also have a sports podcast called the 2 a.m. Crew. Shout out to my co-host Rick H on that. So if you guys are interested in New York sports, be sure to check out that. But as far as First Class Second Place, I originally started it because in my young days, like in my early 20s, I wanted to be in the radio business, and it was just a really hard business to get into, and the business is not what it used to be now anymore. Long story short, it just didn't work out. Any different avenues that I tried, it didn't work out, so I just said goodbye to it and never looked back. And then the explosion of podcasts happened, and it kind of reignited my interest in doing what I wanted to do with radio, except it's your own creative freedom. You don't have to worry about ratings, FCC, this, that, and the third. You could do it however you want to do it.
Yeah.
And so that was very intriguing to me. And it's funny that we're bringing this up right now, because my show is actually on hiatus because I'm revamping it, and I'm working with people to make it as a collective instead of just me hosting and talking to a bunch of people on an every single episode basis. And that was what the inception of it was at the time. I mean, I tell people all the time, I never put my name on the show because it was never about me. It was about people that are part of this and want to be a part of this. So now it's, I'm about to do my 200th episode, which should be coming out soon. That is going to be a celebration in itself. But after that, it's going to be a much different show than what people were used to. But I think it's going to be a great show nonetheless. And I think that I'm really excited for people to see what we got coming forth.
Perfect.
Man, man, kudos to you.
Thank you.
200 episodes,
Yeah.
5 years doing the podcast. Man, that's commendable, man. Just want to
Thank
your consistency.
I appreciate that.
So my kudos to you for that.
Where'd the name come from?
So it originally started off as a Jersey podcast, the idea at least, because I'm a proud New Jerseyan, but I always felt like we're second fiddle to like New York or any other major market. We're always looked at as the little brother. There's 2 New York teams, and we barely have even 1 or maybe 2 sports teams, and so on and so forth. But I am very proud of the state. I'm very proud of what we have to offer and the people that are in it. So I was always a big representation of it. But then as soon as I started doing the podcast, it started getting away from that, what it initially was supposed to be. And that's when I talked about when I was being more brutally open and honest about, the vulnerability and the insecurities and this, that, and the third. And it became to something else that wasn't even Jersey related anymore. So now I like to say the new meaning behind the name is being the best version of yourself, but never forgetting where you come from.
I like that.
That's deep. Off topic, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think so many people quit their podcasts?
Because, like we talked about before, it's the instant gratification. We live in a microwave society, instant coffee society. Like, I'll tell you right now, and I don't mind saying it because that podcast is no longer in existence anymore. There was a podcast that was created by an ex-girlfriend's cousins. It was called The Homebody Nobodies, which I thought was a pretty cool title at the time. They only lasted 10 episodes because their heart wasn't really in it. I guess they just saw that people were doing it, including me, and that they wanted to follow suit. But then they stopped at 10 episodes because they weren't getting sponsorships. They weren't getting the numbers. They weren't getting this. They weren't getting that. And then afterwards, they just stopped. And I think that's also very common in the podcast world, where people want instant gratification. They already want to deal with Spotify. They already want to deal with Apple and all these other major markets and so on and so forth. But it takes time. You don't get that instantly. And I feel like when they don't get what they are looking for initially, then they're in it for the wrong reasons. I feel like the reason why I got into the podcasting game, opposed to anybody else that has tried to, is much different. And I think that's the difference between the consistency and the inconsistency.
Yeah, I would even say for us when we started, because we text and talk about it, but I never saw really a lot of podcasts that were talking about self-help. Like, I didn't see a lot out there. All the big ones were like dating podcast and red pill
Sports and stuff like
sports
that,
and all
yeah.
that. So I wanted to personally do something a little bit different. And I know like I said, I deal with mental health. I grew up, like I bullied a lot as a kid. So I wish that I had a podcast I could listen to back when I was in high school, that I could hear about different topics and hear about guests that are kind of going through what I'm going through, because it definitely would have changed my perspective. So that's all about, I think, like you said, like you just got to be in it for the right reasons. And, you know, your time will come. You just got to stay in it long enough until you get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I actually, one of my best friends, shout out to Dre, he sent me, I think in my first or second year of podcasting, he sent me a reel on Instagram of this guy who was a content creator. I forget his name, so I apologize in advance, but he basically, in a nutshell, talked about how he didn't start making money or making it a career, like something he could live off of, until his 6th year. And the key was just to keep on going, and don't just do it for the monetary reasons. Do it because you love it, and then everything else, the spoils of war, for lack of a better term, will come to you. But the guy never got into it for monetary reasons, and he ended up making a living off it. And I think that message should be applied more in the podcast game, because other than that, get out of the way, because there's so many other people that can do it, you know, for other reasons and better reasons than what anybody else is doing it for.
Absolutely. And then I did watch a little bit of some of your other episodes, and you kind of talked about like the health, fitness, and like eating and stuff like that. Can you give us a little explanation on, you know, that type of journey that you went through?
Yeah. So it's funny because I'm a Colombian and Costa Rican. My father, God rest his soul, was Costa Rican, and my mom was Colombian. On my father's side of the family, they're like great personalities, great people. They're very funny, but they have like a lot of underlying health issues, like diabetes and high blood pressure and like heart problems and so on and so forth. And then on my mother's side, you have people that are just beautiful, gorgeous looking, and they're in great shape, and they live to 100. My grandfather is 103 now as we speak.
Wow.
So we live a long time, but they're just boring as a doornail, and they just don't have any personality, and they're always, you know, jealous of each other. So I say that to say this, because from a physical aspect and from a mental aspect, I'm trying to like find balance in that between the two parties, the two families, and also just be better, because like as I've gotten older, I'm going to be 40 this year, I noticed there has been changes in the way that I eat and the way I carry myself, and this and the third. Still trying to get rid of this gut that has been, that just doesn't seem to go away. But I think also the difference now is that my fitness journey in the beginning was more about vain reasons. Like I just wanted to look good in the mirror, you know, try to holler at girls, stuff like that. But now it's more like I'm doing it for my own body, for my own benefit, my own self, because you only get one body, so you got to take care of it. So my fitness journey is mostly for myself and not for anybody else. Now, I should say it's for myself and nobody else, rather. And just, it's all about consistency, you know, like I think I've been able to prove my consistency in other avenues, and I want to maintain that consistency with this avenue as well. And is it easy? No, it's tolerable. It's not impossible, but it is pretty difficult. But nothing great ever came that easy. So that's where I'm at right now, and I just want to be able to live until like I'm 80 or 90, God rest, so I can still be in front of a microphone and talk my shit.
Yep.
That's real. What advice would you give to someone who has tried therapy and they're just like, it's not working?
That's another great question. I feel like therapy has become a very big topic of discussion, and mental health in general, that now people are becoming more open to the idea. But again, we live in this instant gratification society. You know, we want to be cured, like, you know, quote unquote. And I think what people fail to realize when it comes to doing better work on themselves and mental health works and so on and so forth, and seeing a professional, it's not a cure-all. It's not a fix-all. It's I kind of compare it to working out, because if you stay in the gym and you eat right and you do this or that, you're putting in the work, and then you're going to see results. But then once you're satisfied with the results and then you stop, then you're going to go revert back to square one. So I kind of look at that as like I kind of look at therapy as like the mental gym, for lack of a better term. And I feel like for people that just are looking for answers and they just don't want to do the work, they're just looking for a cure-all or just somebody to talk to, that's all fine and dandy, but the consistency needs to be there, because I think if people would just stick with it and navigate through the waters and really see what it's going for, and then they'll get to see that they're their money is being well spent, and they're also benefiting physically, mentally, spiritually, however the case may be. But it's not a cure-all. It's not something where, you go into the doctor because you have a sore throat and then they give you something, to, make it go away. I know that it's like kind of similar medical professions,
Mhm.
but the methods are completely different. And I think that for people that have the wrong idea about it, I think they really need to do their research and really stick with it. And if they really, really want to better themselves among themselves and everybody else.
And it's not just going to therapy, it's doing the homework and applying the
Yes.
tools that they're providing you. And a lot of people don't do that. They just say, oh, I'm just going to therapy just to go. But no, they're giving you tools and resources and
Mhm.
articles and stuff and homework to do so you can improve yourself. Like going is one half, but doing the homework is the other half that I feel like a lot of people just don't do. They just go there just to say they go.
Yeah, just to say they go, or their methods is wrong, like, or try to use their diagnosis or anything for an excuse or justify their behavior. Like if somebody's acting like a jerk, and then they'll be like, "Well, my therapist said that I'm just stubborn, or I'm just like something's wrong with me mentally, so this is just how I am."
Mhm.
Like that's that's really half-assing it, or really trying to justify something that is not right. And I think that people need to really take a step back and really focus and do the research as to why they want to do this and why they want to get better. Not just for the obvious reasons, because there's always a deeper rabbit hole down to go to find out the root of the cause and the problems. And you could even find things about yourself in a positive way that you never even knew about.
Mhm.
So it's always good to just keep on doing the homework and the research and keep on digging deeper and finding more about yourself.
Did you ever have to change your therapist, or have you always had the same therapist the whole time?
I've only had to change my therapist once, and it wasn't because it wasn't a good fit. It was another thing that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough is the affordability.
Mhm.
I think that if therapy was more accessible to people that unfortunately don't have insurance or anything that could help them out, then we would be in a much better society. I mean, this is another topic for another discussion, but I think that it should be brought up another time and another day, and should be more prevalent, where people that clearly need the help, but they don't have the resources to get that help.
Absolutely.
And to go with that, it's just so interesting how when you want to help yourself, everything's so expensive.
Yeah.
Therapy, eating healthy.
Hmm.
It's not the gym, because gyms are getting a little less expensive, but
Right.
it's always where if you want to improve yourself, you just gotta pay a little bit more. But I don't think that's always fair when it comes to like eating whole foods or going to therapy or
Right. I mean, if there's any way to look at it differently, don't look at it as like a payment or a subscription, or whatever. Look at it as an investment,
Mhm.
because an investment is going to take you a long way down the road. And I just think that if you have the means, then go for it. But I also think that there's other avenues where it's just even more than just professional help. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, there's been times where I had to even stop going to therapy because I couldn't afford it anymore. So I had to find other avenues. And what helped me out, as kind of like a band-aid for a little bit, for lack of a better term, was just being outside and getting exercise and just walking. Like I would do these 3 mile, 5 mile walks, and next thing you know, like whatever was on my brain that was festering is kind of gone away, because my mind is elsewhere in a much positive light, because I release my endorphins and
Mhm.
all these other stuff. Because so there's other avenues, but I also do think that if the resources were there and more accessible to people, then it would be a much better world. Not to sound corny or anything, but yeah.
No, it's interesting you say that. In regards to running specifically, I'm in a run club in Baltimore, and a lot of people that I've talked to joined the run club for mental reasons.
Yeah.
It was just a way to just run and just get away with whatever life was going on for a couple miles. It helped them a lot. And I found running to be very whatever life's going on, I'll just run for a little bit. And once I'm done running, I'm like, all right, I feel a lot better. And I'm sure Bless will chime in too in regards to more of the physical fitness of it, of how just like mentally, fitness can really just change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Like having a bad day, you go to the gym or something like that, and miraculously you feel better. Like you said, the endorphins and just releasing some of that stress or that pent up anger you may have against your boss or whatever. That for me, that's definitely helped. Going to the gym and then being around at least the gym community where I go. Everybody's there for like the same goal to kind of like help build you up. So it is somewhat of a type of like therapy or therapeutical exercise or activity that definitely plays a good benefit in my life and as well as other people's lives.
Right.
So I see you lived in Florida for a little bit,
Yeah.
right? And then you end up coming back here.
Mhm.
Why'd you end up coming back to New Jersey?
I get this question a lot, and I'm gonna give you the story. So, as I said, excuse me, I was born and raised here in Jersey, but then well, not here, but we're in Pennsylvania right now. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But when my parents had split up, and then the divorce was finalized, my mother took me and my brother and my sister down to Florida. So it was kind of like I didn't have a choice. Like I had to
Okay,
go
yeah.
down there because, you know, wherever my mom says, I got to follow her.
Mhm.
And I found out pretty quickly that it was not to my liking. Like it's not basically everything that you see in the movies and the TV and the magazines, stuff like that. You know, I actually live like in the real Florida where it's not all glitz and glamoury.
Oh,
And I just couldn't coexist with the people. It's a different dynamic down there. People found me a little bit more difficult because I'm a little bit of an edgy guy based on, you know, being in the Northeast and stuff.
mhm.
And like I said, it wasn't my choice. I didn't want to go there. I never wanted to move in the first place. So that affected me as far as like lashing out and this, that, and the third, and being a little bit of a rebel. And then finally, when I was 18 and I was, you know, legally a legal person,
Yeah.
I said, I'm out. And then I just came back home to a place where I feel like I belong.
Absolutely.
In your opinion, what does mentally strong truly mean?
Mentally strong, in my opinion, is continuing to do the work from a mental aspect. Keep on thinking, keep on learning, keep on reading, keep on feeding your mind with information and making sure that you actually know what you're talking about and how you voice your opinion, as opposed to just doing it because you need to lash out or you need to find acceptance with among others. And also just being comfortable in your own skin. I think that's where it all really starts from. Like, if you show that you are mentally strong and are able to navigate through everything that life throws at you, because it will happen. But as long as you just are mentally tough and you just stay the course, ultimately you're going to get where you're going to need to be. Like, can I use a sports analogy, for example? So unfortunately, I'm a New York Jets fan, and we had Sam Darnold. And as a professional athlete in football, he has gone through the ringer on so many things. Like, he was on trash teams and he was benched and he had to learn and do everything all over again. Fast forward to now, he's a Super Bowl champion. And I think a big reason to that was because he was mentally tough, in the sense that he was getting, you know, he was getting like negative like feedback from all way, and people thought that he was a bust. He was facing all these labels and this, that, and the third, but he just did his job and stayed the course and just did it for for reasons to him alone. And ultimately he ends up being a champion. So I look at somebody like that as an example, that if you just stay mentally tough and don't listen to the outside noise and don't let anything get you down, ultimately you're going to become a champion in your own right.
Yeah, it's just a love of resilience. I remember Sam Darnold last year when he was in the Vikings.
Yeah.
He shit the bed against the Lions and Rams 2 games in a row. And I was like, yeah, his career's over. And then I saw the Seahawks sign him and they paid him.
Yeah.
I was like, they proved me wrong.
I thought the same thing too.
They proved me wrong. He went and won, and it's funny, he's won 14 games 2 years in a row.
Mhm.
And it's a level of just resilience, getting back up, hearing the naysayers. You know, people talking shit about you all the time. Oh, especially when the playoffs come around. Oh, he's gonna fold.
Yeah,
He's gonna
I
fold
thought
against,
that too. Like,
yeah,
even
I did too. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
even in the past playoffs, I said, based on his history, I think he's going to shit the bed.
Yep.
And he proved me wrong.
Yeah, I did too. Especially when the Rams, when they had to play the Rams, I was like, oh, Stafford's gonna go in there win. He's gonna go in there win. And every time Stafford came down and scored, he responded. So yeah, it's just a level, and I commend him truly, a level of resiliency going from the Jets to the Panthers
to the 49ers,
49ers,
Vikings
to Seattle, and winning it all. So I think the theme there is, when life gets tough, you have to be resilient. You can't curl up in a ball and just scream, woe is me. As much as we want to, you can't. You have to keep going. You got to own the strong, going to survive. And Sam's just another example of just staying in the moment, keep going, and it paid off. Super Bowl champion.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that if you apply that kind of mentality in any day life, even just beyond sports, whether it's your job, whether it's your relationship, whether your business ventures, whatever the case may be, just have that strong resilience and just not giving up. Because listen, in my podcast journey, not everything has gone according to plan. You know, I've had to deal with ex-co-host problems. I had to deal with people that are into competition instead of collaboration, and this, that, and the third. And there was honestly, I could talk about this all day, but long story short, there are so many reasons that I could have stopped, and I probably should have stopped, but I chose not to, and I still am not going to, because this is what I love doing. I love being in front of a microphone and a camera. I love talking to people. I love getting intricate and just all of that stuff. And all of that is the reason why I still continue to do it, whereas I feel like anybody else would have given up a long time ago because they would figure this shit ain't worth it.
Absolutely. And so you gave our audience kind of like a little bit of passive, like where you were in life in regards to like the mental struggle and the suicide. And then you also gave the audience kind of like where you are now. But what can the audience and ourselves look for Jason Enrique in the future?
You're just going to get me, simply me, because I feel like I have never strayed away who I am. I would say the only difference is I've been a lot more comfortable in my skin. But one thing that has never been able to change is like, I am who I am. And that comes with some trials and some tribulations. It comes with some ups and downs. I'm not the easiest guy to get along with at times, but my intentions are always good. And as long as I feel comfortable in my own skin and I know that my intentions are good and all of that, then I feel like you're just going to continue to get the better version of myself. I don't know if I'm ever going to be the best version of myself, but you're always going to see an improvement to how I was even 2 weeks ago, 10 years ago, whatever the case may be. And some people have seen it, some people have not, but I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for myself. And as cliche as it sounds, this is probably the most comfortable I've been in my own skin for probably ever, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think, how do people get comfortable in their own skin?
Just accepting what they can control and what they can't change. And just know that if you are a good person, you have all these good qualities that maybe nobody else will notice, but you notice it. I think that's where it starts out. Everything starts with yourself. Know that you're a good person. Know that you stay consistent. Know that you're doing the work. Know that it's all starting with you. And then just focusing on that, and then everything else will come along. But as long as you just focus on yourself, whether it's spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be, that's all you need to know right there. That's all you need for yourself and for everybody else.
I preach the same exact thing. Just like people were so focused on trying to, branch off to everybody else, and then their home and their foundation isn't built and strong enough for them to even support anybody else. And I definitely, like I said, I talk about that all the time. Yourself matters first in regards to your self-actualization. You can't be built without having that grounded foundation. And so hopefully people do find themselves and be able to,
Absolutely.
Use the knowledge that you've even given us in this podcast to hopefully just keep moving forward. So I guess to close it up a little bit, you have any words for our audience and what they should maybe go on through life?
Yeah. The camera's right here. Ladies and gentlemen, just simply be yourself. I know that people are always having dealings with insecurities and things not going their way, and they want to do this, shoulda, woulda, coulda, all this other stuff. I get it. I'm human just like the rest of you guys. Nobody's different. We all bleed the same. If you punch me in the face, I'm going to bleed just like you guys. But all I could say is that I'm not perfect. I'm a flawed human being. I know I'm not the easiest person in the world to get along with, but I'm comfortable in my own skin. Once you realize your qualities and even your flaws and being able to balance out the two, then everything's going to work out in itself. Just control what you can, acknowledge your faults, acknowledge your flaws, and also be kind and also very positive to what you have to offer on a good quality. And I think that if you just keep on working on that and not just acknowledge it, but also do the work and continue to work at it and keep on going and going, the world is going to be yours, baby. That's all I can say as far as that's concerned.
And just one more time, where could they find you at on socials?
Yeah, so you can find me literally on every social media platform at I am Jason Enrique. That is IamJasonEnrique. That's all social media platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, all that stuff. You can find me on there.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on the pod. You were fantastic. You get some great gems, great advice. I even learned a couple things from you. So thank you again, Jason.
Thank you, man. I mean, listen, I want to say this real quick. Like, I came all the way from North Jersey, all the way down to Philadelphia to be on the show here, where I feel like anybody else would probably either say, can we do it virtually? Or, nah, I think I'm going to step away. I believe in this medium so much, and I respect people that actually take it serious, that this is all I needed to come make a trip out of my way, which is really not a big deal, to come on this and show support and be a collaborator.
Definitely appreciate you.
And just one more thing too.
Yeah.
We appreciate you too. I think it's very hard to find people who are very consistent and persistent about the mental health space, positive change, positive reinforcement, self-help. So we appreciate you too. And yeah, man, thanks again for coming down and hopping on the pod with us.
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Peace.
Perfect.
That was good.
Good stuff, bro.
That was good.